Welcome back to The Source. I'm Ezra Levant. You know, I'm an Alberta boy, even though I hang my hat in Toronto these days. And growing up, I used to think Alberta was the most conservative province in the country. It's getting hard to make that claim with a straight face anymore, given the profligacy of the spending. And joining me now, live from our Calgary studio, is Dr. Frank Atkins, an economics professor at the U of C. Professor, thanks for joining me today.
Always a pleasure, Ezra.
You know what? I did the math once. I looked at Bob Rae in Ontario, the NDP premier with the worst economic record in history. Yes. I adjusted his last budget for population and for inflation, and I compared it to what Alberta spends today. We spend 50% more.
Yeah.
You know, why?
This is ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, tell me about it as a fellow Albertan. How the heck did we call ourselves conservative if we're the biggest wastrels around?
Okay, let me give you two sets of facts. One, resource booms come and then they go. Every time you get a boom, it ends and goes way down. Fact number two, in Alberta, every time there's a resource boom, government spending goes up. We get caught when the revenue goes down because the resource boom is over and we run a deficit. That was the Getty years, way, way back. Back then, there was a bumper sticker here. I don't know whether you remember it. Oh Lord, please give us another boom and I promise not to piss this one away. Well, we got another boom and we pissed it away. We have nothing to show for it whatsoever because we went through another cycle. Government spending just followed resource revenues up. Resource revenues went down. Game over. We're in another deficit position. We don't seem to learn out here at all.
And it's funny you say that because, yeah, boom and bust, but oil, I mean, it's not $140 a barrel like it was briefly in 2008, but it's still 80, 90 bucks. I mean, what the heck? Why can't the province of Alberta make a go of it when oil is still higher than I mean, this is one of the highest points historically, even adjusted for inflation. How come they can't do it? I wouldn't even accept your statement that we're in a bust now. I think we're still in a semi-boom.
No, we're in a mini boom out here, but the government can never think about cutting spending out here. It's anathema to them. So spending goes up, the resource boom goes away, we're in a deficit. They never think to cut spending to get themselves out of the deficit. They just wait. They wait it out with spending way up there, and they wait for the next boom to lift them out. And that's what happened last time, and that's what's happening this time. They're not cutting spending, they're sitting around waiting for the next boom. We're pretty much in it. They'll eliminate the deficit in a couple more years, but spending will be way, way too high for long-term sustainability. They're not learning.
Well, you know what? Some folks think that Alberta has this super-duper secret bank account called the Heritage Trust Savings Fund. Can you talk a little bit about that Heritage Fund? What is it for folks outside Alberta who may not know? Was it a good idea? Should we shut it down? Should we increase it? Where is it? I mean, how much money is in it, for example?
I don't know exactly how much money is in it, but not enough, that's for sure. The Heritage Trust Fund was a good idea. It should be set up so that you take some fixed percentage of non-renewable resource revenues that get shunted into this Heritage Trust Fund, and you build it up over time so that you can have enough in there that you can live off of the interest and lower taxes and have a real booming economy. We've never been able to do this. We tinker away, we put little bits in it, then we take it back out again, and there's just a paltry amount in there right now. I'm not sure what the exact amount is. And the other thing is we created this thing called a sustainability fund. We had $17 billion and it's supposed to be a rainy day fund. Well, it's gone. It's gone to cover the deficits of the last couple of years. There's no more money in that one now. So we pissed away $17 billion just to save face to say we're not really in deficit. Look, we take it out of the sustainability fund. This is craziness.
Look, there's a provincial PC leadership race going on now, and whoever wins that race will be the next premier, at least until the next election. Is there any glimmer of hope that those candidates will stop this trend of being the biggest spending province in the country?
Well, that's a good question, Ezra. You can only hope, but they sort of divide themselves into what you might be called red Tories, and blue Tories. Okay, but let me stop you there. Even the blue Tories, I mean, are any of them talking seriously at all, or is a blue Tory in Alberta still a big spender? Well, look at Ted Morton. He was finance minister and he presided over all of those deficits.
Yeah.
So he was the great hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it about Alberta politics that takes true blue conservatives and turns them into big spending guys walking around? Is it just the thrill of walking around with wads of cash and feeling like a big shot? Is that the corrupting force in these people? They love giving away other people's money?
I don't know. I can't speak for them, Ezra, but there's been a whole group of us for the last 10 years have been saying, look, This is a crazy way to run this province. You've got to change it. You've got to change the way you do things. The government just nods their head, and we go away, and they just keep spending. So I don't know how to reach them. I don't know what to say.
Well, let me switch gears. We talked about the Alberta PCs because whoever wins that race will be the next premier. That's coming up only a couple months.
Yep.
But as you know, there is a challenger in Alberta from the right. It's called the Wild Rose Party.
Yes.
Danielle Smith, a telegenic young leader. She sounds a little bit more libertarian, a little more small government to me. Even if she doesn't win, Professor, even if she doesn't win, will she help change the dialogue in the province so it's not left and lefter, spendy and spendier, but maybe so that there's actually a break on the spending? Do you think she will, even if she doesn't win, have a positive impact?
Oh, I think she's had a positive impact already. She scared them. She scared them, and they're thinking. They're not acting yet, but they're thinking. And so she's there. You're right. She's libertarian. She's small government. She was one of my students. So,
oh, really?
I'd like to take credit for that, if I could. But she's got them at least looking over their shoulder, thinking, well, you know, we may not have the run of things forever. If the Wild Rose actually got elected, I'm fairly confident you'd see an end to these high spending ways, and you'd see a long-term fiscal plan. Something that we've actually never really had in Alberta, long-term fiscal plan. Even under Mr. Klein, you know, Mr. Klein did a great job of reducing the deficit and reducing the debt, but after that, he didn't have a long-term fiscal plan, and that's what we really need, a long-run view out here.
I guess I got one last question for you. I mean, I'm thinking, what is the problem? Is there one thing that Alberta does especially wrong, or do they just do every single thing more sloppily than the rest of the provinces because the oil money means they can be sloppy? Is there something particular about Alberta, or is it just that oil lets these politicians be dumber than normal?
Well, I think it's the money. When there's a boom, the money piles up so quickly in such large amounts that as politicians, they can't seem to resist spending it. There's no natural break. And you know, what we need maybe is some kind of a binding law that ties their hands. Says, you can't spend that money. You've got to put it away.
Well, Professor, remember, Ralph Klein brought in just such a law, and then it was repealed by Ralph Klein later on. So you got to do something tough for these politicians. I don't know what it is. Professor Frank Atkins, thanks for joining us today from our Calgary studios. Appreciate it.
Always a pleasure, Ezra. Thank you.
Thank you.